Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about the least obvious winners' edits in Survivor history. Last week, I looked at the most obvious winners of all time, the people whose wins seemed telegraphed from the very beginning. But what about the players whose victories seemingly came out of nowhere? The players who got to the final three and made you say, huh? Or in some cases, who? Yes, today I want to look at the Survivor winners who didn't get such a glowing edit, from the unnecessarily negative to the completely invisible to the voted out third. These are the Survivor winners who really came out of nowhere and surprised audiences, casual and hardcore alike. So grab your Edgic charts, put on your favorite purple shirt, and join me as we take a look at the least obvious winners in Survivor history. At number 5 is Jenna in Survivor Amazon. As we'll get to, most of the major winner surprises were because they were so invisible in the season's narrative. But Jenna's one of the biggest surprises in history, not for that, but for how negatively she was portrayed. No other winner has been so unceremoniously dunked on in the edit. Jenna's episode 1 is actually pretty good, though. She is immediately tied to the season's gender war theme, she's shown as resourceful, and she gives her thoughts on clean underwear.
Underwear needs to be clean, I think is a priority because of it's things can live on you.
Well, hard to see anyone who could disagree with that take. But shortly after this, Jenna's edit turns south. Shown as selfish, conceited, and airheaded with few redeeming factors, Jenna has perhaps the most undue, unflattering edit in Survivor history. Survivor had shown winners negatively before, but with Hatch and Brian, there was always the caveat that, yeah, they're assholes, but look at them. Look at how good they are at this game. With Jenna, a largely social player to begin with, that part just wasn't there, and the edit simply relegated her to hot girl number 2 for much of the season. I think there are 3 reasons for this. 1, Jenna and Christy did not get along, and the show took Christy's side at almost every turn, making Jenna out to be the bad guy in this relationship, even at the times when she wasn't. 2, she was so close with Heidi they were giving confessionals together, and Heidi was a ditzy quote machine giving sound bites that were simply too good to leave on the editing room floor.
The work ethic in our camp is definitely creating friction. You've got bigger women that have more fat to live on that obviously can put out more effort as far as manual work.
And 3, the name of the game in early Survivor seasons was less to explain the winner's win than to obscure it. Amazon was heavily spoiled pre-season, and so here we are, with Jenna given one of the most comically negative edits ever. Try and spot this one, edit readers. The audience did not like her for the most part. She was making fun of Christy, she's shown wanting to quit, and then out of nowhere, she wins? How? Well, the proof is in the pudding on this one. She handily won 6 of 7 jury votes and was well liked by everyone out there playing the game, except for Christy. So many members of her cast were surprised that very few of her good qualities were shown. In fact, they really only showed 2 of them with any regularity. At number 4 is Erica in Survivor 41. I get what they were going for here, it just didn't work. The long downtime between Survivor Winners at War and Survivor 41, a nearly 2-year layover between filmings due to COVID, led to some Survivor soul-searching, with production significantly retooling nearly every element of the game itself, from game mechanics to casting to editing. And one thing they decided to try in the new era is to be less afraid of giving winners more unconventional or even negative edits. An experiment which I'd strongly argue has been a success. Except for here. Throughout the pre-merge, Erica is easily one of the least visible members of the entire cast. She does get a pretty strong introduction in episode 1, but then completely fades away and is really only shown when Luvu considers throwing a challenge to get her out, where she's still shown as aloof and somewhat clueless of her impending blindside, foiled only by Nasir beast moding a challenge he was supposed to throw. That is Nasir. In hindsight, it's clear that her breakout moment is supposed to be her going to exile and smashing the hourglass, where she goes from lamb to lion. But fans and edit readers simply could not get over her early game irrelevance, and that we never saw the formation of what turned out to be not only her main alliance, but the main alliance of the entire season, her relationship with Heather. Obviously unintended, but Erica's breakout also got lost in the backlash to the Hourglass twist as well. And any Erica winner discourse was drowned out by the Hourglass being a twist so bad, even Jeff hates it. I mean, this is his Oppenheimer moment. On top of all that, Xander was given a pretty deceptively positive edit as well, leading lots of fans to believe that a guy who was an afterthought at best on the island was somehow the frontrunner to win $1 million. The jury wouldn't vote to give Xander a free weekend stay at a Holiday Inn in Cleveland, let alone $1 million. Post-Shan, I think Erica's edit did crystallize a bit, but overall, I think the Erica experiment was a swing and a miss, and future unconventional winners edits in the new era would be a lot more fun. Excuse me, did I say fun? I meant funny. At number 3 is Bob in Survivor Gabon. You can accuse Bob of a lot, but you certainly cannot accuse him of being a good Survivor player. From beginning to end, Bob is presented as a likable old guy, hard worker, without a strategic bone in his body. If anything, the way Bob was presented on screen screamed final tribal loser. Marcus and later Maddie had your traditional box-checking winners edits. Kenny was a dark horse. Bob was not on the radar at all. At the start of the season, Bob is presented super positively in the first half of episode 1. He's building shelters, he's the tribe dad, then he goes MIA the rest of the pre-merge. Winners can and have had stretches of episodes where they're not super present in the narrative or even invisible. You can't have 5 episodes in a row of irrelevance. Speaking purely from a game sense point of view, almost all of Bob's intuitions are wrong. He wants to go to the end with the Onion Alliance, where he would be destroyed by Marcus at Final Tribal. Later, he wants to go to the end with Maddie, where he would be destroyed at Final Tribal. He got insanely lucky that he reminded Sugar of her recently deceased father, and that she decided to play for him to win in the endgame instead, and he had little agency in the rest of the game. All Bob did was win immunities. Again, a lucky blessing from the Survivor gods. Only Bob would have the good fortune to be against a literal Olympian who can't even climb a hill or dunk a child-sized basketball. 4-year-olds can do this. You're supposed to be the challenge beast of this season? At every turn, Bob was portrayed as likable, but with little agency and even less strategy. And he just managed to Mario Party gif his way to the end with the only 2 people in the game more objectionable to the jury than him. That's all you need in Survivor, but it wasn't by design. I really don't know how you even present this kind of win otherwise. You have to show some strategy from your winner, but almost everything Bob did was wrong. And we just happen to live in the 1 in a million glitch in the Matrix universe where he wins Gabon. This is why we have 2 seasons a year. See ya in Tokencheens. At number 2 is Chris from Survivor: Edge of Extinction. Well, what can you do here? How do you present a guy that was voted out in episode 3, spent 27 days playing a completely different game, and who pops back up in the finale as a satisfying or deserving winner? Here's what they did. Instead of building Chris up, they built Rick up. A huge amount of screen time is invested into propping up Devins as this huge personality and major force in the game. A guy the other players know they need to take out, but none were able to. Heading into the finale, it seemed somewhat obvious that Rick was taking the crown, but he wasn't actually the winner. He was the final boss. In hindsight, making Chris the Dragon Slayer to Rick's dragon is the only way to present a winner who wins under such bizarre circumstances. You know, the circumstances of having already lost the game on day 8. However, this was nearly impossible to predict beforehand. In the game proper, Chris's original elimination is presented as a consequence of War Dog's overplaying, but also his own over-trusting nature, turning his swing vote position into getting swung out of the game. And on the edge, he wasn't shown a ton outside of his initial post-boot episodes. He got some moment of reflection, but so did most people who came to the edge. That's kinda its thing, you know? They had no choice but to shove his entire storyline into the final episode, including most of his personality and strategy. And granted, as the finale goes on, it slowly becomes clear that Chris could win. It's just that up until the final episode, he was like the 15th most relevant member of this cast. Well, at least you got more screen time than Eric. The idea that a late-game Edge returner could win was always in the back of fans' minds. But even then, Chris was not the top pick on the board from a storytelling perspective. You know, it's probably someone with a story. Looking back, it is perhaps the funniest thing ever to happen on Survivor that Chris just shows up in the finale and completely negates 10 prior episodes of high-stakes strategy and social politicking, and then managed to blow out 2 people who spent the full 39 days on the island, including one guy who never received a vote against the entire game. Like, that is just objectively hilarious, and I would have it no other way. Wait. Did I just become a fan of... Oh, shoot. What's this guy's name again? Chip? The least obvious winner in Survivor history is Natalie White in Survivor Samoa. This one is unforgivable. No other player has ever been sandbagged harder in the edit when measuring screen time versus importance to the season. Without a confessional for the first 3 episodes and hand-waved away as a dumbass blonde by Russell, and not even the main dumbass blonde, but the even dumber dumbass blonde, Natalie's edit is otherwise completely MIA for the early part of the game. The problem with this season is that Russell eats up an absurd amount of screen time at the expense of everyone else. By season's end, he has 108 confessionals, more than any other player in a single season in Survivor history, and constituting more than 25% of the confessionals for the entire season, leaving everyone else to fight over the scraps. And Natalie gets it worst of all. She is not properly introduced until episode 4, and after that is only intermittently shown. Her breakout scene doesn't come until episode 9, where she clubs a rat to death. They truly did her dirty. I genuinely would not fault viewers if they didn't even know who this woman was up to this point. She was that invisible, and even within her alliance, the Foa 4, she's shown the least. They gave Mick more screen time than her. Mick! I often wonder what this season looks like if Russell's voted out pre-merge in Heroes vs. Villains, and this season isn't edited as a 14-hour preview for that one. It's such a bummer that Samoa, which is very good on paper and which has a very good cast, is significantly lessened by Russell's outrageously bloated edit. And I think if you took 30 or 40 of Russell's 108 confessionals and distributed them amongst Natalie, Brett, Monica, Eric, and Dave, this season is probably a consensus top 10 of all time. For my money, no winner has ever been so disrespected by the edit, and it's a shame that Natalie, who by all accounts played an excellent social game and who was responsible for turning Galoo on itself in the first place, was purpled, at the expense of us having to hear the words Russell Seed over and over and over again.
I'm telling you, you plant that little seed in their head, in their little brain, and then it grows, and it's called a Russell seed.
In no context do I ever want to think about Russell Seed. Got nothing else for ya. If you'd give me a more positive edit than Jenna in the Amazon, Like and subscribe, and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.